If you're a driven, active person who wants to reach and pursue a higher quality life with some ambition, then guess what? This podcast is for you. This is the Driven Athlete Podcast. What's up, y'all? It's your man, Dr. Kyle. Welcome back to the Driven Athlete Podcast. We've got a really cool guest with us, Randall Greer. Appreciate you coming in, man. I know you're a busy dude, so thanks for coming in.
Dude, happy to be here.
And so for people who don't know, share more. You're a franchise owner with HEW, correct? Hard Exercise Works.
Yeah, correct. So franchisor, we're now rebranded HEW Fitness, but the
HEW
HEW
Fitness
does stand for Hard Exercise Works.
Yeah.
And then we also gym owner. So we own the Jupiter location, which was our first location.
Gotcha. So Jupiter is the beginning of all of it.
Yeah, that's where we had, so we were birthed out of CrossFit. So we had a CrossFit Palm Beach, and then we had CrossFit Armory were the two in the early days. And then we evolved into doing our own thing, and that became Hard Exercise Works. And as we started franchising and worked with the branding company, everybody called it HEW anyway, because Hard Exercise Works is kind of a mouthful.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I'm going to HEW today. I was like, all right, so HEW Fitness.
Yeah, that makes sense. How'd you guys come up with Hard Exercise Works as like the name? I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, but where'd that come from?
My business partner, so Matt, he's 20 years my elder, so I always give him a hard time about that. But in his previous business, the story he tells me is they worked with a company to kind of talk about what they do or who they are. And they took it from several pages down to a paragraph, down to a sentence, down to those 3 words, Hard Exercise Works. So it was a whole process that I was not actually a part of.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's a great method. I like that, which makes total sense. I mean, intense exercise and physical movement works for the goals of what most people usually want, right? Which I was going to ask you next. Before we get into that, you guys were CrossFit Armory and CrossFit Palm Beach, and then you guys split up and did your own thing. What led to that decision to split up or do your own thing like that?
I think multiple. There's a lot to it. We were, at the time it was the early days of CrossFit, and I mean I love CrossFit. I love everything that they've done. So I don't want this to come across as a negative, but at the time they weren't censored, so to speak. And we had a group of 8th grade volleyball girls that were working out with us. And they're kids, right? And so when we were talking about CrossFit, and I would go and I'd be watching these videos and they're dropping F-bombs, and, just the culture that we were trying to create was at the time more family friendly. Now, again, CrossFit's done a lot of good things. So again, this is not a dig on them, but just who we were.
Okay.
We were looking at doing, there's a group doing like prison ministries. And so we're trying to build this on, godly principles, if you will. And also just kind of wanted to break off and do our own thing. So that Hard Exercise Works just became kind of like, I can't believe it's not butter brand. And we're like, you know what, let's go do this. And in the thought of expanding, we didn't get into this to be a franchise. We didn't get into this to do multiple locations. It just kind of happened that way. But having a little bit of a bigger vision, we wanted to control the culture. Yeah, gotcha.
So a big difference then is the culture aspect, right? And then some of the programming compared to CrossFit, right? Is it a lot of similarities, big difference? Like, what would you say about that?
Difficult question to answer. I would say, because, with CrossFit, CrossFit is a bunch of individual gyms and they create their own programs. So the programming in each CrossFit location can be built on what their goals are, what their methodology is, where for us, we all run the same workout, and we're at 16 locations right now. So it's the same.
16. Okay.
Yeah. It's sometimes it's kind of daunting. Like, we've been doing this for 15 years. I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, sometimes I feel like we should be farther along than we are. And other times, like, I can't believe we're actually made it here.
Yeah.
But yeah, going back to the programming, it's really, kind of the culture of what you create. It's what we've evolved into is not really a competitive environment. Early days, we'd write everybody's names on a whiteboard, and we'd write their time down, and we would like, hey, well, wait, did you do? What weight did you do? Did you do RX or non-RX? And that's where we came from. And then over the years of, again, when the classes got bigger and you're writing 35 names on for one class, part of it became just like, this is a nuisance, right?
Yeah, totally.
But then we go around with the clipboard and you're like, hey, what was your time today? I was like, I don't know. It's like, and you get a lot of those, I don't know. It's like, okay, smiley face. So we'd put smiley face because then we'd still put something up on the wall. And it just kind of evolved into what it is today is like, just, meet you where you're at. One of my mentors, a guy I trained with back in Texas, he'd say like, hey man, it's your workout. If you're feeling good today, go hard. If you're not feeling good today, maybe a little hungover, maybe a little beat up, just, take it.
That's a great way to put it. This is your workout today.
Yeah.
You decide, what I mean? We'd love to help, I would imagine, like pump you up and like make you feel more supported, but we'll meet you where you are.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's why it's a coach, right? Like your job as a coach is to know more than just how to coach the workout. It's like, you got to get to know the individual.
Yeah.
And that's the essence of, I think, the group fitness model is you come in and, again, the culture is meeting you where you're at on that day. So it's taking the workout that's on the board and breaking it down to a group and then being able to go to each individual that needs that extra help to say like, hey, here's what you're going to do today. So your shoulder's banged up. Maybe you got pre-existing injuries that because people come in with all different, I'm one. I mean, I have to modify 90% of the workout that we put on the board. So that's really where I think we thrive is finding a way for people to get a great workout and feel accomplished when they leave.
Gotcha. And that's awesome. I mean, because like that consistently over a long time works, right? No pun intended.
Yeah.
If someone wants to be like, hey, cool, let me try you guys out, but tell me more, like what type of workouts seem to be heavy within your guys' like more emphasized in your programming consistently?
I mean, you're looking
like
at
exercises and stuff.
Yeah, you're looking at like basic HIIT training, high intensity interval training, mixed with your strength. So your strength and conditioning, doing barbells. That's where one of the, us in CrossFit. There's other brands that do it, but where the barbell becomes a pretty big part of the training.
Right.
There's a lot that goes into that because it's a very technical lift, and you have people that have never touched a barbell, maybe even never exercised really in their life, and we're asking them to do a snatch.
Yeah, it's an overhead snatch for sure.
Yeah.
So is our barbells? Not every workout includes a barbell movement.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
How many days a week would you say barbells would be included in?
An average 2 to 3.
2 to 3. Okay.
Yeah, depending on how the programming is cycled through. The design, like the technical side for the listeners out there that want to geek out on programming.
Right.
When you talk about like the metabolic pathways, you're sprinting, you're kind of interval jogging, or you're running, and then your endurance, like the slower conditioning. Each week has a theme. So if we're in a sprint week, you'll probably see 3 days of barbell, and in that sprint you'll see more of the part 1, part 2 style where you're doing the heavier lifts and like lower reps, right?
Okay.
Or very fast, short intervals where we can kind of control the clock. And you're like the medium, like your more glycolytic phase. You're looking at us again controlling the clock with the intervals, but we'll do that creatively. We might do it with a partner workout where I go, you go, and you're getting to work together. So you're building camaraderie in the gym, which is some of the secret sauce of
I would agree.
Of group fitness, if you will.
I mean, like in those vulnerable, grueling times is when you really get to know somebody.
Yeah, man, and you get someone cheering you on, like, hey, come on, one more rep, like, and you're high-fiving, and then you get done with your set, I go,
Yeah, totally. That's cool. And is there like a cardio, like a running or a high heart rate type of component in most every workout?
Yeah, I'd say, that's part of the marketing, that comes with it. Like, you can write the best program in the world, right? And nobody shows up, it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't matter. Yeah. Or if you don't stay consistent with it, you're not going to see long-term changes.
Exactly. But people want to get sweaty. They want to feel that you want to walk out feeling accomplished. And so there is that get the heart rate up, get people sweaty, get them in. That's what most people need. We're training 99% of America that is not training for a very specific sport. They're training for life. They're training for, whatever it is, their day to day. They're not sport specific. Yeah. So they want to come in. They need to just turn their brain off for a little while, get sweaty, and move on with their day. Yeah.
What would you say? There's some of the most common questions. Like if someone comes in for a free class, right? You see those on signs outside of doors, which is a great opportunity to meet people and check things out. And like, hey, I really liked it. what are some of the main questions people usually ask you?
I got some notes on that, but main questions, when people come in, it's kind of, what do you do here, right? And that's the simple part of like, hey, we do group fitness, we do high intensity interval training, we kind of, everything I just said, like we kind of meet you where you're at. And then it gets into like, hey, is this for me? Can I do this?
Right.
Because you think about someone that's walking into a gym for the first time, and inside of our gyms, you've got ropes hanging, you've got gymnastics rings hanging, you got, depending on the workout, you got heavy kettlebells, heavy barbells, all the way down to the other ones. You got boxes to maybe jump on. You're like, man, I don't know if I can do this.
Yeah, looks intimidating.
Is this place for me? Do I belong here?
Yeah.
And that's really what I think most people see and feel the first time they walk in. And, in general, people, it's almost 9 months from the time they think about coming into a gym like ours or any other fitness thing, if they're not already in fitness. Is that you think about 9 months they've been thinking about it, watching it maybe on, online, doing some research. Maybe they've driven by a couple times. I've had people tell me they park in the parking lot and they just kind of watch, and they don't have the courage to walk in. So that's the biggest question for me, I think people have, is like, can I do this?
Yeah.
Whether they articulate that or not.
That's what they mean.
Right.
Yeah. So you're finding that people usually, it's like a 9-month investigation and consideration time before they actually like walk in the door.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I mean, interesting. This just happened yesterday. We had a member come in. Member now. She came in for the first time, and with our paid ad campaign, had submitted a paid ad 6 months ago, right? And then again in December, we had a little promo out there. The name popped in again, and we've been reaching out, doing our typical, lead nurture. And then yesterday, walked in, finally scheduled an appointment, came in.
Cool.
Loved it. And we get 5-star review out of it. I mean, she just loved it. But 6 months from the first time we actually know that she was interested and had the courage to click that.
Yeah. So what messaging would you want to convey to somebody who's like in that process and it's been 3 months or 5 months, whatever, to like make them feel more comfortable, lower that time gap, and be like, dude, just come in today. What would you want to say?
Yeah. Man, that's a good one. It's really, you have to just check your ego, kind of just be vulnerable. You have to put yourself out there, and that's hard. Man, it's not easy. You think about, because you're going to have a class. We're 15 years in this, in the Jupiter gym, right? So you're going to walk in, and there's going to be people that have been doing this forever, and they're in phenomenal shape. And you're walking in, in a vulnerable position, like you're putting on your workout clothes. What you end up finding out is nobody really cares what you look
Nobody
like,
cares.
who you are. They care about you.
Yeah, right.
They don't care about how you perform. Like, they're going to encourage you. They're going to put their arm around you. They're going to give you a high five and be like, hey, congratulations. So I would say it's really just be vulnerable and be okay being vulnerable. And just, I don't want to say there's going to be fear. Like, I don't want to say like, just don't be afraid. I mean, because there is that healthy fear that you're going to have when you walk in. But yeah, I think that being comfortable, being vulnerable is what I would tell people.
Interesting. I heard the definition of courage the other day it's just there's fear and being afraid, totally. The action despite the presence of fear, that's courage. And I was like, oh, it's interesting. Okay, I got some fear going on, but what am I going to do? Like, am I actually going to take action? So it's just like the action despite the presence of fear, because fear is healthy and normal for sure. Yeah. I also heard something recently too with like vulnerability. I'll go back to that in a minute. But so I wanted, before you get into that, tell me again, like, for someone like that, it's been 6 months, 9 months, right? You want to make them feel comfortable to come in, right? How long do people usually, at time of like working out, they've been with you for like a month now or 6 weeks or whatever, when they actually start feeling like, I feel different. I'm noticing changes. I feel stronger. How long does that usually take?
Yeah, I'd say people probably notice change within the first 30 days. I think a lot of that change is up here. It's like they're feeling accomplished. Because that's the hardest part. I say that one of the biggest struggles people have is patience. You come in and there's an expectation for that change, that fast, like, man, I wasn't working out and now I am, and I don't see the difference, right? Because it's incremental little changes, like if you're doing it the right way, you're not starving yourself, you're not just going crazy. Like,
super, yeah.
A lot of people that that I see don't make it, that fail is because they go too hard too fast, and then they have these unrealistic expectations of themselves.
Gotcha. So having realistic expectations coming in, like, this is a process where over the next 8 weeks, staying consistent. At the end of that 8 weeks, then we can take an analysis and assessment and maybe see some changes. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I'd say. I mean, and even putting 8 weeks on it, I think you got to scale it back even more, right?
Okay.
Like, understanding where you're starting, right? Like if you're someone that hasn't worked out in years, and you've put on, like, use just a stereotypical, a mom, right? So she's had 2 kids, maybe within a couple of years of each other, and hasn't really been able to take care of herself. Like, I mean, I can imagine like what that's like, right?
Right.
So now it's like, I want to get my body back, right? 20, 30 pounds overweight. And you come in and there's this patience that you need to have with yourself to know that, like, okay, I started something, and where do I want to be? First, let's start with showing up. Let's just be consistent. Be like gracious with ourselves, be okay, coming in, right? So that's where I would recommend people starting, right? Like, just set realistic expectations. Now, everybody's different. You get someone that's younger, I'm not in that boat anymore. I kind of keep getting reminded of like 44 years old. It's not old, but I'm not 20 anymore.
Yeah.
So you also got to kind of understand like where you're at in life, right? You come in and if you're on the younger scale, sometimes things change faster.
Right.
If you're on the older side of things, things don't change as fast as they used to.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know if that answered your question, man, but like I would say 8 weeks is, that's what you went to. I think you kind of got to set that, set an expectation for what I would recommend most people to do is not really put a specific date on it. I would say, look at being consistent to start. And then look at it forever. Like, it's not like I'm going to do this exercise for a short period of time and I'm going to get where I'm at and be done. It's like, you got to just kind of mentally commit to like, this is going to be my life, and figure out where to fit it in.
Yeah. Yeah. I would imagine with that, something I've heard too is like, layering in like deeper why of like why in the first place I'm even doing that, which will help with consistency, as in like, well, I want to be a role model for my kids. You know what I mean? An example of discipline and just consistency, and then the hard work I put in, the willingness to be uncomfortable, because exercise can be challenging and it doesn't feel great at the moment, but we know it's for a greater gain for long term. Like the willingness to do that, right? That's some of my whys, right? I would imagine for the mom that you just explained or the dad in that situation, that would help revert back to those whys to create more consistency. You're like, oh, today sucks, right? I can't give 100% today, right? That's okay. Yeah. I had redefined that myself. It's like my previous experiences and expectations I have of myself. It's like, I don't feel great. I'm a little bit late. I'm not going to work out because I can't give 100%. I can't work out to death this time. So then it doesn't count. It's like, it totally counts, right? Like, it's totally fine. Just move, not in pain, cool. You still got to work a little bit of a workout in. That's going to be better because it's going to instill those lifestyle habits for longer and longer versus like, I can't commit full time right now or 100%, so it doesn't count. Like, dude, it totally counts, right? Yeah. Just do it. It's fine, right?
Absolutely, man.
Right? Do you hear that a lot? Like, do you tell yourself that a lot?
Yeah, I live it a lot. I mean, yesterday I had a play date. I got a 6.5-year-old, It's best job in the world and hardest job in the world being a dad.
Yeah, of course.
But it's like, I wanted to get to the workout. I wanted to do my warm-up before the warm-up. And the kid's having a great time playing on the playground. I'm like, you know what? All right, cool. I'll just hang out a little bit longer. Showed up to the workout 15 minutes late. So I missed the whole first part. But you know what? I did my own little warm-up in the corner, which I don't try to do all the time. It's just part of it. But this is my only little window to work out that day, right? So, he gets to go hang out with the other kids at the gym, have a little bit of fun, and I got something done,
right?
And I felt good afterwards.
That's good. No, that's awesome. I still need help with that in myself, because then when I do have time and it's like, oh, now I'm going to crush it, then I'd go way too hard and I'm like way sore. Something hurts afterwards and I'm like, why do I, what am I doing? I have to redefine my definition of like what a workout is.
Absolutely.
And then like success or failure, where the success is like, my goal is maybe work out 4 days a week versus like maxing out every day. Was I able to do the 4 days a week workout? That's the win. Versus like, what did I actually do in the workout? Or like, did I go to death every time? It's just like, I was able to knock that out. Cool. That's going to carry me longer than like other stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And you think about like a background, someone that might have been an athlete, a competitive athlete playing sports, in their younger years, high school years, maybe college years, maybe even, people that played professional sports for a little while. Then there's the life after that. Right?
Yeah.
So we grew up in this world. When we're growing up, we're training for a very specific reason, right? So you train and then you go perform, and then you get out of that. And I mean, I live this, but then there's a ton of people out there that also live the same things. Like, what am I doing now?
Yeah.
What am I training for?
Right.
I'm just training for life. Right?
Yeah. Because you played baseball in college, right?
I did.
What position did you play?
I was a pitcher.
Pitcher.
Yeah.
Lefty or righty?
Lefty.
A lefty.
Crafty lefty.
Crafty lefty.
What kept me going, man.
Yeah.
It was
Picking off guys at first base.
Yeah.
How did he do that?
Yeah.
That's cool. So you get that. You had a specific thing you were training for baseball through high school and college. Then you exit that, and it's like, now what, right? Yeah. Why am I just burning like this endurance burn, the lactic acid, like during a workout? This sucks. This is burning. Why? How about this? How about I just not do that, right? And I don't have to anymore. But then like that gets instilled for a long time. So anyway, yeah. What's your thoughts on that? Like, how do you? What motivation would you convey to other people in that same boat for consistently working out through their 40s and 50s and 60s and stuff?
But I think you nailed it. I think there's a why. There's the deeper part of what comes with the workout, right? The workout is part of what you do. I mean, we live a healthier life. Everybody wants to be stronger. You want to look better. You want to lose weight. Like all those surface value things. But
right.
I think my journey is similar to other people. I got out of college. I got a job. I moved to a new town. I don't know anybody. And that's kind of how I ended up in the business I'm in now. I was a civil engineer to start my career, right? And then long story, but like 08, 09 recession, real estate kind of tanked here locally, right? And so I had been given a 6-month notice with my job. So I had 6 months. The guy I was working for was amazing, good mentor of mine. I was like, what am I going to do now? And I wasn't ready to leave. Like, I could have gone back to Texas. I mean, I love Texas. This is where I grew up. But,
what part of Texas?
Dallas area, Plano,
to
be specific.
Okay,
yeah.
gotcha.
Family's still all there.
Cool.
But I had some opportunities to continue in engineering, but I'd gone on this path of the CrossFit journey, right? So I had found CrossFit. I was volunteering as a coach in a CrossFit gym. And I didn't need the money at the time, right? And that's what got me in there. Was I was on this search for like people. Like, I just didn't belong anywhere. It was like, where do I belong? Like, the people I was working with in the engineering world at the time were not into health. They weren't working out. I wasn't finding connections there. And so I was seeking this out, and I find group fitness. I didn't know much about it. But then when I got into it, I was like, man, it felt like back being in sports, right? I found people, and
very similar feeling.
Yeah, and then fast forward till today, like one of the amazing things, and what I love about my position and the job, the life I have, is seeing those deeper connections. We use a phrase called uncommon bonds. This act of working out, right? We go to a gym. You can work out anywhere. You can Google HIIT training and get a workout, right? The workouts, I mean, I have a big part in programming the workouts, and there is some artistic creativity that comes into some of this to get people to show up, right? But the reality of it is just workout. You can get a workout anywhere. But the why, what I believe and what I see is these uncommon bonds that are created through suffering, right? Through suffering, through a workout. Like, we do Memorial Day Murph every year. It's become a national phenomenon now. We've been doing them. We've been doing it since we heard about it, right? But that emotional response you get, like working out with other people and then getting the high five, and at the end you're just like you said, like before, like, man, I feel great. Like, it sucked when I was doing it, but man, I'm gonna walk out of here, and I just found a whole new group of people that are gonna support me. If I don't show up, they're gonna shoot me a text. And it's not just the coaches; these are the members
within the
within the system.
Yeah.
And this isn't
like, hey, dude, you good? Like, where you at?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, and this isn't.
It's like, I know I should have went.
Yeah, man. It's like, man, if I don't show up, man, Matt's gonna be looking for me.
Yeah, they're calling me.
Let him down.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to let these guys down. Yeah.
So, kind of took a little
That's good.
No,
yeah. But that's good though for the, for people who are driven and like, hence the Driven Athlete podcast, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. But for people who are like a little more motivated, driven, or searching for something else like that, the group fitness field industry can definitely be a great, supplement, for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I definitely find myself in that same boat too, My wife also played sports. She was a soccer player, D1 soccer player for a while. So we're in the same boat, and navigating 2 kids at home, it's always challenging. Yeah. But that's where I'm like, it's okay if I just move a little bit and did some kind of physical movement, but I didn't like break PRs today. It doesn't matter. But I did it.
Right.
And I consistently stay on that path. It's going to be way better off for the long term versus like expecting myself to give a 100% workout every time. It's actually not even healthy anyway, right?
Right.
But anyway, well, that's cool. That's awesome. So how do you navigate then your own workouts? Like, because you have a kid, you have your son that's 6.5, you're a business owner, a franchise owner, right? How do you navigate your own workouts? Timing and stuff.
I have learned to protect my time, where, I live and die by my calendar, right? Like I got to put it on the calendar so I don't forget to do it.
Yeah, same. I have 3 calendars that I go off of.
Yeah, right.
No, sir, do I have anything here? No. Here? No, here. No. Okay, we're good.
Now we're good.
I can plan it.
And I picked this up from, I forget who it was, but something I heard early on when I became a business owner, right? It was to make a date with yourself or protect your personal time. So schedule it and then do it. Yeah. Like you see it as a priority. So I schedule my workouts, right? So I do the HEW workout for the most part 5 days a week. Sometimes on Saturdays I'll go in. If I've got Teddy, Saturday mornings, a lot of times we'll go do play dates or go do an activity because he's already been in the gym with me most of the week, right? And then what I found now too is I like I've gotten into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu 2 years into that. I love it. Cool. That was a struggle for me where like working out is my, it's the business, right? So, but I've always worked out. I go back to like T-ball. I remember running laps, right? Like, that's just been built into me forever, which a lot of people don't have that, but I've got that as a habit. So then the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu became like my outside, like as my mental part where I can kind of something for me specifically. And that I struggled with like kind of in and out. I'd go for a little while, but then I'd feel like guilty because I need to get this work done and I wouldn't do my me time. So I ended up scheduling that as well. So Wednesdays and Fridays, I roll jiu-jitsu in the morning. Love it. Still get my workout in. And then you get in the recovery aspect for my own fitness. You have to respect kind of your body. So that's where I come see y'all. Right? I got a date every Thursday at 10 o'clock with Dr. Hunter. He's helping me stay in the game. Again, I love the driven athlete where, whether you're a professional athlete and you're driven and you're competing for your job or for money or for whatever your competition is, if you're a high school kid, but there's also the driven athlete of like, I feel like that there's, I made this statement a while back, like there's an athlete in all of us, right? So we're all driven. And I think that accomplishing a workout for the average Joe who just comes in the gym and their day-to-day routine is like, you still need that drive. It's accomplishing something, right? And then it just helps you with the rest of your day. But I do the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and then I find, I get my PT and yoga. I try to do a hot yoga class.
Cool.
Once a week. And again, y'all, anybody listening is like, man, that's a lot. Like, how do you have time to do that? Time blocking, man. You just have to block it. I'm still working, 40, 50 hours a week. I don't work the 60-hour shifts like I used to. Like I kind of pared that down because I've reprioritized and tried to become more efficient and effective in my time, working time. But
I'm a huge fan of block scheduling, just fitting things in. It's because everyone's busy. It's just priorities. Mm-hmm. Like, what are you prioritizing? Right. So it's like, well, why would you prioritize? That's when you get into the whys too of like, okay, you want to prioritize this. Why? Get a little bit deeper. Why more? And that's going to help even promote that priority even further. And then just ingrain it over a long period of time. And then having people like-minded around you, because you are who you hang out with, right? We talked about this before in other podcasts and stuff, and I totally agree with it. Like, there's studies about it totally. Conformity into like just your group of who you're with. Mm-hmm. So it's like, if you were to take the 5 people you hang out with most and put them in a mixing pot, you are the average of the 5 people they hang with most. So it's like you could purposely choose then like what groups you want to be, right?
Yeah.
Very similar like a job, right? Where it's like, I was told this a while back, where it's like, look at your immediate supervising boss. You're going to be them in 5 years. Do you like that or not?
Yeah.
Cool or not cool? Like, well, like, I don't want to be like that guy. Or like, I don't want to be here in that position or like in that state. Like, okay, then you got to change, you know?
Yeah.
But anyway, I totally agree. Like, as you are who you hang out with, so I can see where the HIIT and group fitness classes are really good because it attracts the like-minded people. And then you don't want to let them down. You want to maintain your own goals too. And you end up morphing into like those type of people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
But, and the block scheduling, right?
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of that. Everyone's busy. It's just priorities, in my opinion. And if you want to prioritize what you want, then you'll fit it in, right? And then scheduling and protecting your time is a huge thing with that, to make it consistent. And I totally agree, right? Because there's people who are very busy that still work out 5 days a week, right? And then I hear other people where it's just like, well, it's cool, man. It's where you're at. Like, I'm not going to judge anybody.
Right.
We can help shed light maybe on this area of time management. You're very busy and you have 2 kids. Then you're done. Like, you're screwed. You're right. You'll never be able to work out again. But then there's person B who has 3 kids and they're actually working full time too. And they're married. They have responsibilities, but they're able to do it also.
Yeah.
What's the difference here? Let's peel back some layers, dude. There's something going on. That's a priority. Easy, quick fix too. Let's look at your phone real quick. Pull up your time.
Oh, me?
No. It's like screen time.
It's like, did I bring my phone in here?
I can call myself out, right? It's like, I don't have time, right? Well, let's pull up your screen time real quick.
Yeah.
I just found you 2 more hours.
Yeah.
A day. Do you think you could fit in like 4 hours a week for a workout? I think probably could. And I just found you 2 a day, by the way. So you're good. You know? You got me. Dang it. You know?
Yeah. And starting somewhere too. Like, you don't have to necessarily train every day.
Right.
Like if you just start with 2 days a week, 3 days a week, just start with something.
Yeah, totally.
Right. And that was the mindset I had when I started my jiu-jitsu journey 2 years ago. Was like, when I got into it, I was like, this is forever. Like, I'm gonna keep doing this as long as I can. I didn't sign up like, okay, I'm just gonna do this and see how it goes. It was like, I mean, I thought about it long enough. You know, you get like Jocko podcast, and that dude talks about rolling. I mean, he's just like the man's man, right? And I love his books, and I love his approach to life and everything.
I love Jocko.
Like, you know, I'm just gonna go do it. I was like, I finally was, you know, and I got my kid. You know, I got him into the martial arts.
Oh, he's doing it. Cool. I like that.
Yeah, there's more like MMA. They're not doing the hands-on like Brazilian jiu-jitsu yet, but they're doing the kids classes. Yeah, cool. He loves it. But I mean, that's what, like you say, like the people that you're around, like that's what I love about what I've fallen in love with is, you know, I'm the bottom of the totem pole when I go into this class, right? Like there's a lot of brown belts and, you know, higher level belts in there. And being around the people, like I found a group that, again, they're not in there for competition where I train. There are some competitive schools out there, but for where I'm at in my life, I'm not looking to be a competitive martial artist, right? I'm just doing this for me. I'm doing this for my mind. I'm doing this for my body. And these guys they've become mentors, right? Like they're not trying to break my arm, right? They're going to show me where I went wrong. And then they're raising you up, right? Yeah. So I found what we've created at HEW from an athletic conditioning perspective, and I found that more of a skill acquisition.
I was going to say, what do you like most about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu?
I like the mental game. I like that, and I like the challenge, you know, because you go in there and I feel like the more I learn, the more I realize I don't know. But it for me, because it's you know, the workout is my business. So I know there may be some gym owners out there that don't work out every day, but like it's just kind of who I am. So it became a challenge where I do have to mentally commit. There's days I wake up, I'm like, man, shoulder hurts, back sore, and it's easy to just take the day off, man. Like with my life, I don't have to go to work like physically like a lot of people do. No one's gonna know I'm not working. Like I could choose not to go do jiu-jitsu in the morning, but I show up. So that challenge of just showing up, and I love like Master Wald. I've stolen some of his stuff. Is like patience and consistency. He repeats that at the end of every single class. It's just patience and consistency.
That's cool.
And you just keep, you know, and they got up on the wall at my kid I love that this is getting branded into his head is like a black belt is a white belt that never quits. And that's a good approach to
Just
life.
didn't stop.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would it be unreasonable to think that you wouldn't gain the skills over the period of 5 years to become like a brown, purple, brown, black, maybe?
Yeah.
That'd be unreasonable to think that you wouldn't, right? Of course you would, right? Just don't quit. I love that. That's great. That's cool. I like that.
Yeah. And the journey's long, you know, and again, I don't know much. I'm new to it. So I don't know I don't know all the intricacies.
I'm super, I've never done it before.
But you know, I think the black belt journey for a lot of people is it's like a decade or more.
Decade.
Right?
Wow.
Right. You think about like, that's a long time to do something. And that's assuming you're consistently training, right? Like, so yeah.
When you say consistent, like let's say a decade of time, 3 days a week, twice a week, 5 days a week.
Yeah, I'd say like probably the 2 to 3 days a week of training. But then the consistency meaning like you don't take 3 months off, right? Like you maybe you miss a day here or there, but the consistency of weekly, on a weekly basis, you're training.
Yeah,
right?
Gotcha. I wanted to ask that your block schedule, protecting your time, put it in your calendar, totally. Let's talk about like actual nuts and bolts and tactics. What type of calendar do you use? Do you have a paper calendar? Do you use Google Calendar? Do you have a board calendar?
Google Calendar.
Google Calendar. Yeah. I'm a big Google Calendar myself.
Yeah.
So you just create like events and times and stuff.
Yeah.
And then reminders on there too.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
And then I also put reminders. Like I'll set an alarm on my phone because I think this is some of the training of being a baseball player and a pitcher. Like I can get like dialed in. I kind of like the rest of the world doesn't exist while I'm working on a project. So I'll also use my phone and set an alarm 5 minutes before I'm supposed to be
to like wake you
on
up
a Zoom or like just could get me out of whatever I'm doing.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Because I'll do that too. I'll get in the zone and be like, "Holy crap! It's been 3 hours.
Yeah,
and my back hurts from sitting so long." It's like I gotta stand up. Dang it. That's cool. I was thinking about the vulnerability thing, and I thought about more about what I was going to say with that. Like they would park in the parking lot and just watch, and then like, I want to drive away, right? Submit a form. They're like, I'm interested. Crickets. Don't hear anything. 6 months later, and they're like, I think I'm going to go in there and talk to these people, right? Yeah. And from my understanding, from something I've read, I'm a big Jocko fan. I'm a big like self-help book person. I'm like, dude, I can learn so much from these experts. You know what I mean? Different mind frames and mindsets and stuff, perspective shifts. But anyway, with vulnerability, from what I've heard collectively in these people's opinions, it's usually a fear of rejection or fear of judgment and then fear of failure, right?
Yeah.
And oftentimes, like if you go to a gym and there's like very, very fit individuals that have been exercising for a long time, or like the jiu-jitsu experts, they've been in for a long time. Yeah. Those are not the people that are going to judge or reject. In my opinion, and I've noticed this, and I've reflected on it. I'm like, that makes total sense, right? If you go into a Globo gym and there's like, very muscular individuals that are very in shape, they're gym rats, right? And then somebody who has never really worked out before, and they're really concerned, they're nervous, intimidated, and they're scared, worried about fear of rejection, of people being like, look at this person coming in here, you don't belong here. Yeah. I guarantee you, if you were to walk up to any of those very fit individuals at the gym and be like, hey, can you like help me, like show me what this is? I guarantee you those people will be pumped. And they'll be like, dude, let me show you everything. They'll be like all in, be like, high five for coming in. Like, I'm proud of you. And like, let me show you everything I know, right? Let me help you. Whereas if that's the case, and those are the people that aren't going to reject and like pass judgment, and your fear of rejection of people who do you think actually would pass judgment and be a reject mindset? It's usually the people that are kind of upset at themselves that they're not doing what you're doing. So it's like the crabs in the crab cage, right? They're like pulling the other crabs from not getting out, right? Yeah. It's usually the people that are holding you back that are ones going to pass judgment and reject. So I was like, that makes total sense. So then what's the actual fear of rejection here then? It's the other people that usually are upset at themselves for not taking the steps that you're willing to take. Yeah. So you're going to let them like pull you back? Yeah. When the experts and the ones that are like super committed and like really into it, they're the ones that are going to like pump you up and like high five and be like, dude, awesome for you to come in here. Let me tell you everything I know. Yeah. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I think
have you heard that before? Like with some of the things you've read?
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of, I think we're all to a certain degree broken people, right? Like live in a broken world. To get that from my pastor, the church we go to. And so then there's broken people that know they're broken, and then there's broken people that don't think they're broken, right? And I think a lot of the judgment comes because they are their insecurity. And so the only way they know how to respond is to criticize, or to judge somebody else.
Yeah.
And, it's just, I think everyone goes on their own journey, but that vulnerability is huge, man. But you're 100% right. Like everybody wants to help. You look at that, you have a culture of help like in our gyms. And I think if I asked you for a favor, I mean, you got to pick up truck. Especially if you drive a truck, you're going to help someone move. Yeah. Right. But you like to do that. You feel good helping other people.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome, man. Because you're a driven individual. You've played, you're, a highly qualified person. What's the hardest thing you've ever done?
Hardest thing I've ever done. So you can answer this two ways. I get two. So we'll start with the physical part of it. The hardest thing I've ever done physically, we did, a buddy of mine sent me a text. He's like, hey, and this guy does Ironman athlete, right? He's an endurance guy. I'm not the endurance guy. But he's like, hey, no one else will do this with me. We do this race with me. It's this adventure race, 72-hour adventure race. It ended up being a very cool experience, but it was like from the west coast of Florida to the east coast of Florida. Now, when I read this, I was like, all right, 72-hour adventure race. I'm familiar with adventure racing, not super expert on it or anything, but I'm familiar with it. In my mind, I'm like, okay, 3 days, we'll camp out. I'm picturing like this, like, okay, we'll race during the day, we'll build a campfire, we're gonna sleep in a tent, get up the next morning and just
casually continue. Yeah.
And come to find out, he really didn't even understand what adventure racing was.
He's like, this is cool. Let's do it.
Yeah. So this experience, like one of the highlights of the trip was we're on the bus. So we drove up, and they bus you to the other coast, and you gotta race your way back across state. And when they hand out all the maps, there's like 27 maps that we've got to use, and
27.
I mean, he's just back at a map, and we're sitting on the bus. And everybody on the bus is like, they got their paper and they're making notes and they're all talking and like, what are they doing, dude? Like, we have no idea what we got ourselves into. Yeah. And so then as we get over there and they drop us off, this is nonstop. Like, this is not like let's go down a trail and find some checkpoints or whatever. But my buddy, when we got into it, he's like, hey, what's a checkpoint? Bro, like that's the whole purpose of this race, right? Like,
I thought we are wildly unprepared for this.
Yeah, and for those of you like it might be listening, watching, like you had checkpoint on the map. You get a map, and you've got kind of you get a broad general direction that you got to go, and there's these points on a map that you got to go find, and then they have every race is a little bit different, but they've got these little punch cards like hanging from a tree, and you got to punch it, and then you got your transition areas, which is as you're making your way across the state. But yeah, physically, I mean, we were, it's trekking. I can't really call it running. We might have jogged the first checkpoint, canoeing and biking. Okay. And like mountain bike, right? Yeah. And you're off, you're on trails and you're doing whatever. So we went from the West Coast to the East Coast, and I never hallucinated in my life. And I hallucinated 3 times. Just from, I guess, sleep deprivation, physical exhaustion. Yeah. Wow. I saw a boogeyman, bro. I mean, it was crazy. But I got blisters, man. You got
Bigfoot out there.
Oh my gosh, man. But I think I slept about 35 minutes calculated roughly in
that
a 72-hour time period.
Wow.
We took a few breaks, but for the most part, we were moving nonstop. And hardest, but one of the coolest experiences of my life. And I still don't know if I was hallucinating or not, but like there was a moment we were going down the river in the canoe. We were in the canoe, I think it was like 47 miles or something. We were in there for like 18 hours. Ridiculous, right? We're just paddling. We took a break. I tried to take a nap, and I'm like shivering on the bank of the river. Like it's crazy. There's this moment where it's like the moon like filled up the entire sky, as I'm going and we're winding through this. And it was just one of those epic like movie moments that it was so surreal. And again, I believe it was real. I could have been hallucinating it. I don't know.
I'm choosing to believe it is real.
I'm choosing to believe it was real. But yeah, that was physically, that was probably the hardest thing I ever did, when we got done. But it was, again, going back to the group fitness, man, I did it with a buddy of mine. And it was awesome, man. Like we learned so much about each other. We fell apart. We picked each other up. We buddied up with other teams that helped us when they knew we got lost a couple times. I mean, it was just, the whole experience was amazing.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and then I say that from an emotional perspective. It's kind of talked about being vulnerable. I went through a divorce, and divorce is just not fun in any way. But without getting into the details of the divorce, the hardest part for me was learning about shame, right? Like understanding why I was feeling the way I was feeling, right? And going back all the way to like, people that may be struggling in life, like they may be depressed. Depression's a real thing. I still experience it. I'll have mornings where kind of those mornings I was talking about, like I'm feeling sore. Really, I'm feeling a little bit of depression. Like I don't know if I'm gonna get out of bed today. Not feeling super motivated. But knowing that there's a group, for me, it could be the gym, it could be the jiu-jitsu group, but getting out of bed. But that was, going through that was very difficult. And I found people that helped me, that kind of reached back and raised me up. And that was an emotional experience but when I identified what that was, right? Like it was the first time in my life. I mean, I was 6.5 years ago, 38 years old. First time in my life, I think I acknowledged emotions exist, right? Like you kind of get that like man's man kind of stoic personality that you're just like, okay, I'm not okay. I have to be good, right? Like I'm a business owner. I'm now a dad. Like I'm not allowed to not be okay.
Yeah.
But I think facing that was one of my greatest accomplishments for me personally, is like being able to self-reflect. So I'd say those two things. Physically, that race, definitely one of the hardest things I've ever done. But then emotionally, getting through the divorce, working through the shame I felt, and coming out the other side and having an amazing story to tell. And now being able to reach back and help other people work through there. So I still got people raising me up because there's things you got to face. I got people that are kind of fresh in it that are trying to figure it out, and I'm raising them up. So it's pretty cool.
That's awesome. No, thanks for sharing, man. That's cool. And I would imagine like the fitness element, and then Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you've been doing that for 2 years.
Just 2 years, yeah.
I would imagine, but same kind of concept. It's something just to help keep you on a track that you're looking for. I would imagine that's been really helpful too. Yeah. That's awesome. So are you planning another 72-hour journey?
It's funny. I was telling someone a story about it the other day, and I went on just because the race is coming up. I think it's like it's a couple weeks away. Okay. The one for this year, like their annual event, right? And I sent my buddy a text. I'm like, hey, bro, I put us on the waiting list because it's sold out, right? Sheer panic coming back the other way. He's like, no.
No, you didn't know what. Yeah. It's like, yeah, so, dude, you're in.
But yeah, I definitely, in the future, I've 100%, man, but it hasn't, this was 2 years ago. Hasn't presented an opportunity to do it. I did another adventure race, shorter one, which was, when you go through that 72 hours, not to take away from a 12 to 18 hour race, they're still challenging, but not quite the same level.
Yeah.
So, that's crazy. I would do it again for
sure. That's awesome. Yeah. That's insane though. So like, what's checkpoint? Like,
what are we doing now?
Like back of a napkin. Like, where are you going here? It's like, these people are planning and strategizing. That's crazy. That's awesome. Well, dude, thank you for coming in, man. Thanks for sharing your story. Yeah. Telling more about you guys and what HEW does, and like, just more of your background and stuff. But if people want to reach out to you and if they have questions or anything, what's the best way they can reach you?
Yeah. Email, Randall, RANDALL at HEWFitness.com. That's an email. Okay. Post. I don't know how else you want them to.
Yeah. No, that's
perfect.
Cell
phone out there.
But, personal cell phone.
Personal cell phone. Yeah. Most people got it.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Got it. Well, that's cool, man. Well, thank you. And if y'all have any questions, like we're always open to suggestions and questions or other topics you maybe want to explore or guests and stuff. So definitely reach out. The best way to reach us is our Instagram is Athlete Restoration Co. _, between Athlete Restoration and _ before Co. And then our email team at athleterc.com, or you can just go on our website. Again, man, thanks for coming in.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We'll catch y'all next time. Hey, hold up. As you know, we're a small local practice, and we don't run any ads or sell anything on this podcast, but it would mean the world if you could share, write a post, or word of mouth recommendation for somebody just like you that's athletic and active that wants to live their dynamic lifestyle, and pay some good karma and pay it forward to somebody else just like you. And who knows, you could change their world, and a 10-second review could be that avenue.